mysteriously go missing in the Ukraine in September 2011. 6 months later, amateur video footage revives the investigation with evidence to support the theory of a kidnapping. Frustrated with the local authorities dragging their heels, the Foundation decides to pick up the investigation from scratch.
The place where they were reported missing and the place where they were last seen alive.
And in order to do this, we've set up 2 teams of investigators.
The Foundation hires 2 groups of investigators, each responsible for exploring all the leads that the authorities have failed to follow up.
Which is what Fabio's having a look at right now, so this is great news. And hopefully it's going to lead to something.
In a bid to give the groups a helping hand with their investigations, the Foundation appeals to internet users around the world for their support.
Users could have on this kind of research.
That includes you. So here you are, up to your neck in a real-time paranormal thriller where your actions could determine the course of events. To help you keep tabs on the investigation and make your own contributions, the Foundation has provided a rich toolkit which you can use to stay in daily contact with the investigators and all the other internet sleuths. You can analyze and decipher films and documents, take part in missions offered by the characters, share the countless clues with your friends, carry out your own research on the web, and even in real life. Emails, text messages, social networks. Follow the investigation at your own pace from your PC or cell phone. If you make it to the top through sheer determination and talent, you could soon join the team of investigators in the story, and even play a starring role.
And of course, those who deserve it will be compensated.
When I got started, I thought it was only a game. Little did I know that this story would change my life.
Ready? The envelope.
So this project was done in partnership with Texas Numeric. So all the storytelling part was done by our partner, and Orange provided all the technical assets. So which leads to the topic of the day, I mean, let me, I'll say something, but, it's going to be a game plus a web series plus, characters on Facebook, mobile site. It will be launched in France in October 2012, but no, it should be launched next year in the US. We're talking to partners right now. It's our first project that's not just for France. So the way we see ourselves today, it's through all those projects we're trying to learn. We are not actual content creators, but we can be providers of technology to create stories. I like, it's John Lasseter from Pixar, which has a great line, which is sometimes art challenges technology, and art inspires technology, or technology inspires the art, right, or something like that. The whole thing is, we're trying to build a platform that help storytellers create amazing stories. So, thank you very much for your time.
Aggregate media and curate media. And I always like to quote people. I love Henry Jenkins' academia view of what transmedia is. And one of the questions that I had coming to tonight is, are we going to find out that, that holy grail, that one platform rule them all? I don't think that's going to happen. And he agrees with me. He actually says no single medium is going to win the battle for our ears and eyeballs. And when will we get all of our media funneled just through one box? Never. So, but I think actually we are going into a world where there are more interesting platforms to create, and there are more tools for the storyteller to use. And I think this is what we really want to showcase today is beautiful tools that are out there for the creators, and how creators can actually have a life without, a world without boundaries, where they just have to think about a beautiful story, the story world and the story universe, and find the platform that will best tell that story to reach their audience. So first we have Dan Brazelton of Toolchair, and he's going to tell us about their pretty amazing platform. I've seen some of the stuff that you are not going to see tonight. It is beautiful. So that's all I'm going to say, because he's going to show us what they are allowed to show us right now, and just what your appetite for the capabilities of this beautiful platform. So, Dan, take it away.
Can you all hear me now? Good. Thanks for listening to me. Like Maya said, there's a whole bunch of transmedia stuff that we're doing right now. We're doing some magazines, and we're doing some books that are more periodical based and have video and 3D objects and all sorts of media mixed into them. A lot of what we've been working on right now is still under wraps, so I can't show it. But I will show a little bit about our philosophy about what transmedia is, and kind of talk about where we think transmedia needs to go. So first, I'll show you a product that we did not work on at all. Okay, I chose this because we have nothing to do with it, and then therefore I can't break any non-disclosures. So, but you take a project like Tron. It's obvious it's an old property that became a new property, and they want to bring a lot of life to it. So they're going to make a game with it, and they're going to make a graphic novel, and of course all sorts of video and magazines, and yes, there is a Tron magazine. And then there's the web. You have all this content that's out there, and each one of these content has different platforms for each one of them. You've got, the consoles, you've got the mobile devices. You have the feature film, you have trailers, you have television, and you have, again, more platforms for graphic novels. It's not just print now, it can be all sorts of different platforms. And on the web doesn't mean one thing. You have multiple browsers, you have Facebook as its own platform on the web. And then magazines now, particularly with the new iPad, which is as good as print resolution. You have all these different formats of things that go through. And as you can see, this starts to not be very pretty, and it becomes very difficult to deal with. So at Toolchair, we thought we wanted to focus our tool set so that if you had an experience and it was an experience that you set up for the iPad, it should be a very similar complementary experience on the iPhone. And it should be an experience that you could have on the Fire. And it's an experience that you could have on the Nook. And it's an experience that you can have on iPhone, on Facebook. The way we will do that is through our tool called the Active Reader. The Active Reader was built originally to do books. But as we had built this platform, it became so much more than that. It could do magazines, it could do video, it could do games, and all of these different assets could go into the tool. The way it works is everything comes into our very artist-friendly environment. It's a motion graphics kind of environment, timeline interface, instead of getting into code. Instead of getting into either action script or any kind of coding whatsoever, you can come in and you can animate and you can build out your elements and place all your pieces. And then when you want to make your interactivity, it's all a visual language. Everything that you want to do is built into this tool so that you can just plug in, decide what you wanted. This was actually inspired by me getting on the whiteboard and saying, well, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and then I started using mind mapping tools, and then I went to our engineers and said, could we take an export of this mind mapping tool and put it into and import it into the system? And he said, why don't I just make a mind mapping tool in the system? So that's how we work with it. So you can actually start sketching and playing with your interactivity right away. And then immediately, there couldn't be any delay from when you were working in the tool. You didn't want to do builds and all sorts of other processes, technical processes to get into your platforms. We want you to be able to publish directly out to everything right away. Take a look at it, and then if your tool, if you want to go back and tweak the animations, you want to tweak the interactivity, get the feel of it, play, then you can see it directly on the device. So I'm going to give you one example of this. This is our first project, which is Operation Ajax. Operation Ajax is a graphic novel, and it's set in the, I don't have sound plugged into this, there's a full interactive soundtrack to it. And this is just a little excerpt of it. And it's a story of the CIA's involvement in Iran in the 1950s. It's very cloak and dagger, based on fact. And as you go through the story, you can select more information about what's going on. In fact, in the full version of the story, you can actually open up a dossier and read historical information about what's going on, or see newsreels for the information of what's going on, going back all the way to the 1920s, up to the 1970s, and it gives you a full depth of information that's actually about as extensive as the full 210-page graphic novel. There's that much more content that's underneath the hood, because you can access it with all these different tools, whether it's video, 3D, or text, or sound, music. So that's our tool. What we see our tool is more than just a tool. It has to be something that inspires to look beyond the concept of pages, to look beyond the concept of page flipping, whether that's a video and it goes over here, and that's a graphic novel and goes over here, and that's a magazine and it goes over here, but merging all these things together and then allowing you to customize and optimize them for the different experiences that you're going to go to. So for Operation Ajax, the experience on the iPhone is slightly different than the experience on the iPad. What we've done is we've brought the camera in closer, we've changed the menus out, you can just very quickly, but it's all within the same project. So then when we went to Fire, actually it was closer to what the iPhone should be. So we went out to the iPhone, so the same version is going out to the Fire that was on the iPhone. So you need to have tools that are flexible, that contain all of the different kinds of content, and then don't require you to have a significant amount of engineering skills to be able to get anything done, but at the same time, not be so dead simple that you're just throwing stuff in and then turning the crank and it's spitting out something that looks like an active reader project. Every single active reader project is a unique project, looks unique, doesn't have that active reader feel. In fact, there's a lot of active reader projects that are out there that nobody knows that exist because people have put them out there and they just look like their own projects.
Anybody have some questions for Dan? We have like time for one or two questions. Yeah, you can come here. Lauren, you can ask them here. Yeah.
So what type of things do you find interacting with that here that allows you to do VR, actually something a little different than that? What's that like to how you use stuff? You just straight native and
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question. I actually haven't practiced this this demo very much. So yes, I forgot a very important part. He wants to know what's the underlying technology and how do we interact with different devices?
and how you deal with AR time, physical, digital, back.
So the underlying technology is Unity, and that's really important. So Unity, for those who don't know, is a 3D game engine that will go out to all these different platforms. What we did is we sat our system on top of Unity, so you don't have to know anything about Unity to use it. But at the same time, we can take advantage of a lot of the power of the Unity engine, which is significantly more powerful than, say, a Flash engine, and optimized for mobile devices. So, but we do it one step further. We actually have a sub-format under Unity so that we can actually also make it so you can get out to devices and actually publish what we call circulate to the device without having to make a Unity build or having Unity Pro or anything like that. So right now we're in closed beta, and we're actually having some conversations about the pricing. But the equipment that you need, so if you're a large organization, you need to buy Unity Pro. If you want to make what you call your own bundles, you need to have Unity iOS Pro. Otherwise, we work